Backlighting can turn an ordinary photo into something truly extraordinary. In this video, I will show you how to position your subject relative to the sun to create stunning effects. Now, these quick and simple tips will elevate your photography no matter your subject. So let's get started. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Anshu and I have been a photographer for over 15 years now. If you're new to this channel, then please do consider subscribing to my channel. It helps me immensely to continue making videos like this. So today we are going to be talking about one of the most creative ways in which you can use your light source, and that's the backlighting. Now, no doubt this is my favorite way of using a light in any photo, but I feel it's also one of the most challenging ones. Now, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to be focusing on sun as the light source. Now, while there are countless ways in which you can use backlight in your photos, today I'm going to be focusing more in terms of how you should be positioning your subject to get that amazing creative look in your photos. So let's dive in. So I really want to start in terms of some of the basic, what is backlighting? Now, backlighting is when the main light source is behind your subject, which creates that halo effect or that dramatic look. Now, think about golden hours portraits, glowing leaves, or even those cinematic looks in the movie. So if you notice, most of the movies actually are shot during the golden hour if they are shooting outdoors, and they use a lot of creative ways in which the backlighting can be used to illuminate their subject. As I also mentioned earlier, this is also one of the most challenging lighting source or methods which you can use. If not done correctly, then you can actually go and overexpose your subject, kind of washing out your subject, which is not probably the look you would be looking for. As you can see in this example, what the difference is between a well-managed backlight and what happens when you lose control of your exposure. So I'm also going to take you in the field and show you with some practical examples in terms of how to use backlighting. Now, we all learn by practicing, so hope this gives you some idea in terms of how to use backlight, especially when you're chasing the sun and during the golden hour, which is one of the most ideal times to click the backlight. So I'm outdoor now, and I'm going to show you some tips and tricks in terms of how you can maximize backlight photography. So as you can see, I am during the sunset time and the sun is still going down. So we will try out different styles of photography. I'll try out some portraits with my models around. That's my brother, my mom, and my daughter. And I also have few things which I want to try out for still life. And I'm going to give you some techniques in terms of how you can perfect these shots and also see to it that your exposure is always correctly exposed when you're taking these kinds of photos. So the first thing which we really need to do is position the sun. So now the sun is probably at 45 degrees angle to my subject. Now let me try to move around and we'll see how the sun's position will affect the lighting here. So I am moving around. Actually the sun, okay, so now the sun is positioned directly behind my daughter. And still, because the sun is quite low right now, so I don't think so I'm getting any harsh light currently. Now let me try changing the position, and in this setting you can see that the sun is kind of balanced. Okay, so let's start up with one of the most classic setups when using a backlight. That's positioning your subject directly in between the sun and you. Now, what it does is this will create that halo effect that emphasizes the shape and the edge of your subject. So you have to position your subject precisely between yourself and the sun and ensure that the sun is perfectly centered behind your subject. Now, this technique will really work with a lot of symmetrical objects, say flowers or portraits. I have changed my lens now to 85, and I'll just change the angle of light and you can see how the light varies. Now it may not be noticeable too much because I'm using an 85, but I hope this gives you an idea. So now this is the side light. So the light seems to be balanced evenly. And the next thing I'm doing is I'm just trying to position the sun behind her. And now though it is giving a nice glow to her face, yeah, so it's kind of getting slightly overexposed, not too much because the sun is quite down now. So this is when the sun is slightly behind her. It's actually, yeah, completely behind her. Let me try out some snaps in this position. Now, one of the most challenging things which you will face in this scenario when you're trying to directly place the sun behind your subject is you will not be able to judge the exposure properly. And also sometimes when the sun is really bright, the camera will fail to focus on your subject properly. Now, to eliminate this or to help you with perfectly nailing the exposure, what you can do is you can go ahead and try out spot metering. Now, in spot metering, it will actually focus and correct the exposure based on one particular spot or position in your photo. Now, what you can do is you can always go ahead and slightly underexpose your background, or maybe try to choose a darker background in some cases. So in that way, your subject will become more brighter than your background. And this really is one of the most creative ways of using backlight. So I just will show you how slightly underexposing the photos will keep the highlights in control. Now, one of the ways in which you can also tackle the underexposure or the shadows of your subject is by using a reflector. I just wanted to show, I have brought this book here, and I'll ask her to keep it towards her face, and you can see I don't have anyone holding for the reflector. So this thin book which has mostly white as their cover, so I wanted to use it as a reflector to her. So acha, now remove the book from your face toward, yeah, remove it. No, keep it down, keep your book down. Yeah. Now get the book towards your face. I'm not sure how much you can see, but there will be some light bouncing back on her face now. So a reflector can be anything. In fact, even a simple white sheet of paper will really help you bounce some of those light back onto your subject's face. Between asking a 7-year-old to hold that book as a reflector and also clicking her, it was really impossible for me to go ahead and click the photo. So for the second type of backlighting, what we are going to do is we will position the sun slightly off center, keeping the sun either to the left or the right of your subject. And this gives more like an even illumination to your subject. Now, by slightly positioning your subject to the left or to the right, what you're doing is you're creating that nice highlighted look. So in this case, the sun will not be able to cast any kind of a very harsh shadows on your subject face. Now the sun is actually quite low, so I'm not sure if you can see, but the sun is behind this bush. So let me just try changing the position. I just want to show you how the exposure changes by changing the position of the light. Now also, when you are using this kind of a backlighting, one of the things which you will encounter is lens flare. Now lens flare can be really used very creatively in a lot of photos, and I kind of somehow like using lens flare in my photos. But if you really don't like lens flare, then one of the ways to avoid that is using a lens hood first of all. So most of the camera lenses will have a lens hood, or you can try to change the angle of your camera so that you're not getting that direct lens flare hitting your lens, which will create that kind of a hazy effect in your photos. Okay, so finally, this is technically not a side lighting, but I just also wanted to tell you a little bit about that. So one of the ways in which you can also achieve this look is by placing your sun more towards the side of your subject. Now this will not give you a lot of dramatic look when compared to positioning your sun right behind your subject, but this is also something which you can go ahead and try out. Okay, so a couple of things which I also wanted to highlight. In fact, these are some things which you can go ahead and practice, and I feel this is really something which will come with the practice. The more you practice taking photos in backlighting situation, the more you will understand how to correctly expose your photos and how also to use those photos creatively. Okay, now so I'm doing the same with my mom. I think it's become slightly dark, so I'll just try to increase the shutter, and let me just change the position. Okay, now as you can see in the background, there are some trees. So if you keep the trees in the background, it will kind of shade your subject and also provide that beautiful bokeh behind. So what I generally tend to do is I try to move around a little bit. So maybe I'll first start with the center and then go towards the left and then go towards the right and see what kind of positioning is really adding the most beautiful light to my subject. And I also at the same time kind of have an eye on the background, so just seeing that the background is not getting overblown or there are too many highlights getting overexposed, and also I focus on getting that nice bokeh in the background. Now, one of the ways in which you can achieve creative and amazing background bokeh is by using some kind of trees. Now, because of the leaves of the trees, they'll filter the light through, and which will give light that kind of glimmer effect to your photos. And when you go ahead and click a still of that, it really gives some amazing bokehs to your photos. Okay, so next we'll try out with this still life. So I have my trusty still life car here. My daughter, she's trying to push it, but I don't think so it will really work. Okay, so I know I have talked a lot about portraits in this photo and how to use backlighting for portraits, but I wanted to touch a little bit about still life and also indoor photography. Now, backlighting can also be used indoors. So I do a lot of still life setups where I go ahead and use window as my source of backlight. Now, this first of all gives you that warm glow to the subject, and especially for translucent subjects, say like liquid or maybe some kind of a toy, it will really give that nice look to your photos. So maybe I'll do a more detailed video on using backlight in indoor situation, but I definitely wanted to touch on this because this is also something I use in my everyday photography. And there you have it. I hope this video gives you some information in terms of how you can take your backlighting to the next level. If you found this video helpful, then please do consider subscribing to my channel to see more videos like this, and give this video a like. I will see you in another video. Till then, happy clicking. Bye.